Welcome to the 19th episode of Skyrim Cut Content and the first video of a Dawnguard related 2-part special. In this part, I'll be taking a look at a way more Vigilant of Stendarr related storyline for the Dawnguard. Let me start off by asking you, do you know who Vigilant Tolan is? For those that do, good. For those that don't, let me jog your memory. When you arrive at Fort Dawnguard, you will find Ezron speaking with him. Tolan is the survivor of a vampire attack on the Hall of the Vigilants. Also in the room are 2 nameless Vigilants of Stendarr. These will come back later, but for now, you and Ezron get information about the vampire threat from Tolan. After your talk, both you and Tolan travel to Dim Hollow Crypt, but Tolan will always arrive there before you and will end up dead. Done. Completely out of the story. And that's my cue to say, but this wasn't always the case. I need you to forget everything you know about the start of the Dawnguard questline, because none of it will be relevant in a minute. It's unknown what led up to this, but originally you would start the quest Awakening by finding a wounded Tolan at the destroyed Hall of the Vigilant. On the porch of the destroyed hall is a marker called DLC1 Tolan Wounded Sid marker. I hope that you enjoyed this recreation. When you found him, he would have requested healing. I know this because there is a value checking if Tolan is healed, and also because of this line of dialogue, internally called DLC VQ01 Tolan Goodbye Not Healed, that he would have said if you left before healing him.
Wait, please! Don't leave me for the wolves to find!
There is also a special effect called Wound that Tolan would possess at this time in order to make sure his health didn't regenerate on its own. Once you healed him, Tolan would speak with you, and you could ask him the same questions that you can in the final game. Only the question, what was this place, was changed to what was the Hall of the Vigilance in order to make more sense. Also, the question, you said something happened to the Hall of the Vigilance, isn't present here because that wouldn't make sense. Instead, you could ask Tolan how he survived the vampire attack, and you'll learn that he was only left to serve as a message.
I wish I could say it was courage or skill at arms that saved me. But that would be a lie. No. I am alive, only because the vampires spared me. It seems they wanted to send a message to the other Vigilants, still walking the roads of Skyrim. It was a foolish mistake, and I intend to make sure they learn that the hard way.
After this, you could ask Tolan where the vampires went, and while the player's dialogue seemingly got removed, Tolan's dialogue remains.
North, I think. Then they turned west, and that's the last I saw of them. They mentioned some place called Dim Hollow Crypt. But I don't know where that is. While you're looking for the vampires, I'll try to get us some help. Come find me at Dead Drop Falls when you've learned more.
Apparently, Tolan would not head to Dim Hollow Crypt, but instead go seek help, and tells you to come see him at Dead Drop Falls after you return from the crypt. If that name rings a bell, it's because the location still exists in the final game. It's a cave system that can only be accessed through Fort Dawnguard, which is really weird, as it never gets acknowledged in the final game. As you might have noticed, the Dawnguard faction itself or Ezron still haven't been mentioned once. The quest Bloodline would apparently play out very similar to the final game's version, but instead of heading directly to Castle Volkihar, you would first return to Vigilant Tolan, together with Serana. Vigilant Tolan would be happy to see you return, but not so happy when he learns you brought a vampire. Out of Tolan's 7 lines of dialogue, only 1 still has its voice file intact, so allow me to act for a moment. It's good to see you all in one piece. Who is this? Her name is Serana. It was her that the vampires were seeking. What do you mean? Why were the vampires after this woman? Because she's one of them.
She's a vampire? Are you a complete fool? You can't trust them. She'll turn on you the first chance she gets.
I don't think so. In fact, I'm going to help her get home. Home? Well, where is that? Some dusty crypt or frigid cave? No doubt she'd like you to lead her into such a place. Then, when you're alone and beyond help, the fangs will come out. I can handle myself. And there are still unanswered questions. I suppose you're right. I should have a little more faith. Just be sure to keep your eyes open and your guard up. After this encounter, you would have brought Serana back to Castle Volkihar, and Lord Harkon would have offered you his gift, just as in the final game. The interesting thing here is stage 25, an unused quest stage that reads, When I brought Serana back home after freeing her from Dimhollow Crypt, her father, a powerful vampire lord, offered me the gift of his blood. I refused the gift and was banished. Now I must return to Vigilant Tolan and tell him what happened. In the final game, this stage is replaced by stage 30, which reads exactly the same, except Vigilant Tolan is replaced by Isran. So as I stated earlier, Vigilant Tolan would still be your main contact at this point in the quest, not Isran. Something I find strange though is the location of Vigilant Tolan. Based on his dialogue and this weird marker called DLC VQ02 Object Target into Void World Space found in Dead Drop Falls, it seems that Tolan would be present there. But the player would not have yet found for Dawnguard at this point, despite the falls only being accessible through the fort. So it's possible Dead Drop Falls was located elsewhere at some point. If the player chose the Dawnguard side, then the next quest would be a new order, and this would have been the first time when the player meets Isran. Here is also a rare opinion. I think that this original opening was a lot more epic than the one we got in the final game. Unused objective 10 for this quest reads, meet Tolan at Stendarr's beacon. Well, that's exactly what would have happened. The player would go to Stendarr's beacon, a safe haven for the scattered vigilants that otherwise serves absolutely no purpose in the game. When the player arrived, a scene would play out between Tolan and Isran. Also, remember the two nameless vigilants that I told you about in the beginning? They were intended to appear here with Tolan and another vigilant tending to the beacon.
Well, what did you expect, Tolan? Didn't I tell you, didn't I warn you this would happen? Look at these fools, so concerned with tending their precious beacon. Why not just scream at the top of your lungs, here we are, monsters. We oh so tasty, come and get us.
Isran, these vampires are different. I know you've disagreed with the Order in the past.
They threw me out, Tolan.
I know, and I'm sorry that happened. But now...
Yes, you've explained yourself. I'm supposed to just throw myself in front of you all and offer protection, am I? Years of mocking, of dismissal, and now suddenly here you are, begging for help. Well, maybe it really is time to resurrect the Dawnguard.
After speaking with Tolan, Isran would turn to you and ask about your role in helping Tolan.
And I suppose you're the one Tolan says is actually doing something about this mess. These vigilants are nothing but talk.
You could either confirm this, saying, yes, I've been aiding Tolan, to which Isran would say,
it certainly seems the vigilants of Stendarr can't help themselves. No surprise there.
Or you could ask if he's going to help, which would lead Isran to say,
well, I certainly can't help any less than the vigilants of Stendarr, now can I?
Whichever option you picked, Isran would follow up with this.
I warned them. I knew something like this would happen eventually. But they didn't listen. And look where it's gotten them. This attack. It's unlike the vampires. Do we at least know what they were after? Or is this completely a lost cause?
You would then be able to tell Isran that the vampires were trying to free a woman trapped in a crypt, leading to Isran being confused, asking you what she has to do with this.
None of this makes any sense. What does she have to do with this?
You could then tell Isran that you don't really know, but that she is connected in some way.
Why her? What significance does she have? We don't have enough information.
You could also say that she just wanted to go home.
None of this feels right. We need to know more.
Irregardless of what you said, Isran would follow up with,
well, it seems the Dawnguard really is needed again. While I ready things here, you find out what this woman means to the vampires. She must be important somehow. I'll admit I don't know that I can trust you, but I know I can't rely on the vigilance for anything. So we'll have to work together. For now. If you can prove you're reliable, maybe you can join the Dawnguard. We have ways of dealing with vampires.
While Isran says he needs to ready things here, this scene should be playing at Stendarr's beacon, not for Dawnguard. But it's also possible he was preparing things there. The interesting thing here is that the player at this point still isn't actually a part of the Dawnguard. Also, of note is that Tolan and the Vigilance would get disabled if the player was a vampire at this point. He would just disappear, rather than die. It seems that the rest of the quest would play out mostly the same, with the player fetching Serene and Gunmar for the Dawnguard. When they returned to the fort, it would have been attacked by vampires. The difference being that guards Salan and Durak would have had a scene where they acknowledged you as Tolan's agent.
Here comes another one.
Hold it! She's the one Tolan mentioned. Hold it!
He's the one Tolan mentioned.
I thought this place was supposed to be secret.
Well, it was. Thank the Vigilants for ruining that.
Besides that, it's unknown what would have happened to Tolan, as there are no more traces of his inclusion found anywhere in the game. If I had to make a guess, this is how far the developers got before starting to rewrite the story with Tolan dying. That seems to be the most logical explanation, as he just completely disappeared from the files at this point. If he really was included in anything more, all of it would have been deleted. And that's not something Bethesda is known for. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about Tolan's involvement in the early Dawnguard questline. There just doesn't seem to be anything more, which kinda saddens me. And with that, I hope that I've just educated someone somewhere about Skyrim's Cut Content, and then I'm happy. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts and or requests in the comments below, and until next episode, we have enough content to keep us going for a long while.